Head to Buffalo, where Joe Brady and Brandon Beane spoke about plans for their offense, including Keon Coleman's future.
The challenge to Keon, can you go back and do what you did all off season and your training camp? And, you know, if you remember, you had a great game 1 against Baltimore. Don't let some of the maturity issues off the field affect the product on the field.
A lot of people think the only way to help Josh Allen is to get him offensive help, right? Sometimes helping Josh Allen is inside the building, like just things inside the building. Sometimes it's helping him with a defensive player, with getting him the ball back another possession like that. Although those things help Josh Allen, so there's a lot of different ways, and that's the perk of Brandon Beane is he goes through all those little things. And I'm never gonna. Josh Allen is at the root of everything we think of. We think about Josh Allen, and whatever we can do to help him have success, we're going to do.
Hey, that makes a lot of sense, right? Hello, there's the big board. Love it. In Mel's latest mock, he has Buffalo adding some wide receiver help for Josh Allen with Washington wideout Denzel Boston. Listen, no matter what happens with Keon Coleman, Mel, they could use some help there. Is that the thought behind this pick?
Yes, it is, Laura. And there's a couple teams there. You talk about Cleveland Browns. If they don't take a Carnell Tate and they need a receiver like Denzel Boston, he would be in the mix there. We talked about the Eagles, with Boston being a possibility there. Another guy, the big body receiver, who's so consistent and so professional in his approach. And he varies in terms of his routes, his speed and his routes. He's a guy who can run the route tree. He was an outstanding football player for the Washington Huskies. People, I think, didn't see enough of him. They don't understand the quality of this player and what he can mean to an NFL team that brings him into the fold. So Denzel Boston all year is one of the top 5 receivers in the country. Certainly if he's there in the latter portion of round 1 for a ton of teams, about 3, 4, 5 teams that could be looking at Denzel Boston at that point. Chris Brazel, the second wide receiver out of Tennessee, would certainly be in that mix if he has a strong combine, which I anticipate. But Denzel Boston is a proven entity. Say if he goes to Buffalo and Josh Allen, he's not going to drop the ball. He's going to be dependable, reliable. He's going to show up every week, do a job, and that's what they need in Buffalo right now.
That is music to Bills fans' ears and probably to Josh Allen's ears, although he's the ultimate professional about all that. I'm glad you brought up Brazel, too. Just continue to talk about the depth of that receiver class this year. New on NFL Live, Dolphins GM John Eric Sullivan spoke earlier about the Dolphins' plans for Tua Tagovailoa and the team's QB position.
As it pertains to Tua, I know that question is coming, so I'll just get ahead of the curve. We've had conversations with Tua and his representation. Everything's on the table, including the potential of a trade. We don't know which way that's going to go. There's a lot of different factors at play, a lot of conversations being had. Tua, I thought, even though things didn't go well at the end of the year, did some good things along the way. And it's my job to infuse competition into that room along with every other room as we go down the road. As it pertains to the Miami Dolphins, listen, I think I'd be lying to you. Any team that is potentially in a needy quarterback situation, if they tell you they're not talking about Malik Willis, that would be a lie. But we've talked about a lot of people, a lot of free agents. Malik's just one of them.
And that was really interesting. A lot there, certainly, Lewis. And we know that's the question for Miami. What are they going to do with Tua? You heard a lot of it's on the table, but let's put you in that GM spot. If you're the Dolphins, what is your plan for the quarterback spot this offseason?
Yeah, I think obviously you'd love to have Malik, especially, considering Jeff Hafley's, familiarity with him. And those are the kind of things that you look for when you're talking about veteran player acquisition. But look, Tua has a $99 million, dead cap hit. He has $54 million coming this year, fully guaranteed. They may have to ride with him for another year. Where next year, I believe his dead cap number kind of decreases to about $32 million. And it makes it a lot easier to move on from him, because right now, I just don't know if the trade market's going to be real hot for Tua, considering how the season ended and what people feel as though, Mike McDaniel did to, really accentuate his strengths and minimize his weaknesses that maybe they're not willing to do. And they may feel as though, look, this is not someone who we need to go ahead and go out and pursue. So Miami may be stuck with him for another year. I think everything is on the table right now, and I think John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley know that.
We're back on NFL Live. Glad you're with us. And here's a look at Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft. It dropped today. Go check the whole thing out. But check out this. His second of 2 quarterbacks going off the board in round 1. Mel has Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson going to the Steelers at 21st overall. I love it. We'll dive into it in moments. But first, Steelers GM Omar Khan spoke earlier today about what he's looking for in the Steelers' next QB.
Like all the fans, we're all searching for the next franchise, player. This guy's going to be our quarterback for 10 to 15 years, and, it might be Will. We don't know. We're excited to work with Will. We have to find the right quarterback that's going to be an AFC North quarterback. Playing in the AFC North, there's nothing like it. The cold weather, the rivalries, the division, the physicality of the division. So it's got to be a AFC North quarterback. The door's open to have Aaron back. I've had conversations with him. I spoke to him last week. Mike McCarthy spoke to him, and right now we're proceeding. He's a free agent and he's not on the roster. So, but he knows how we feel about him.
Okay. Hey, by the way, little travel issue will not stop our man Matt Miller from joining us. He's there in Indy. We'll see you there soon, Matt, and thanks for being with us. Welcome in. A lot to unpack there from Con. Mel, I want to start with you. Do you think Ty Simpson is an AFC North type quarterback, as Con puts it? Because that's a very specific description of a QB.
Sounds like he wants to bring back Big Ben Roethlisberger is what I sense there, but they're not going to happen. I think it's about Ty Simpson. He's not, 6'5". He's not 250 pounds. He's 6'2". He's about 210 to 215. Is that enough? And I think you look back into history, not going to go back into the 60s and 70s for Lewis, but I'll talk about quarterbacks that have had success in cold weather areas. And I'll go right to Tom Brady up in New England. Then had the big time arm. 10 Super Bowls, 7 wins, right? You go to the Cleveland Browns with Brian Sipe and Bernie Kosar. Did a great job there. Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. So you don't have to have that. You'd like to. Ty Simpson everybody looked great in the Dome, right? If you want, it's where you want to play. Josh would love to play in the Dome. But the bottom line is for Ty Simpson, his arm strength, good enough. I like Mac Jones as a comp. Matt Miller's the comp king. You look at Mac Jones, I think he's more athletic. I think he's faster. He's more of a dual threat. He's had 15 starts. Mac Jones only had 17 starts. Mac Jones had a good start to his career, fell back. Now he's reestablished himself. So, Matt, to me, he's worthy of being the 21st pick. I think he's in play for the Jets. I know Lewis thinks he'll go before 21, but if he's there at 21, I got to believe the Steelers think long and hard about Ty Simpson.
I think they'll think long and hard about him, Mel, but I do not think he's an AFC North type quarterback. I think if that is what they're looking for, that is Will Howard. That is someone like Malik Willis, who is a free agent from the Green Bay Packers and will be commanding big money on the market this year. But looking at Ty Simpson, you mentioned it, 6'2", and we'll see this week if that's true or not, if he's legitimately 6'2", or if he's going to be a little bit smaller than that. 208 pounds is what Alabama listed him at. The things that you love about Ty Simpson are poise, processing speed, and accuracy. But that fell off over the last 6 games of the year after his arm got banged up, after the offensive line in front of him started to struggle. So when I look at Pittsburgh, to me this feels like a team that's maybe pressing again at quarterback like they did when they drafted Kenny Pickett in the 20s. I don't know if any of us had Pickett ranked that highly, but they still took him there. And now, just a couple years later, they're still looking for that elusive franchise quarterback. So as much as I like Ty Simpson, I would like to see what they have in Will Howard because I think he better fits the division.
Yeah, look, I'm not someone who's going to get – look, I have a lot of respect for Omar Khan. He's been in the Steelers organization for a long time. He's lived in Pittsburgh for a long time. He's seen a lot of games. Okay, his head coach right now, Mike McCarthy, he coached a guy in Green Bay named Aaron Rodgers who came from Cal. Okay, and he played in Green Bay and ripped it up. So, when they were sitting up there in Green Bay, were they sitting there thinking, is Aaron Rodgers a Green Bay, Wisconsin quarterback? I mean, what does that even mean necessarily? Look, I think this. Look, I like Will Howard. I don't like Will Howard as much as Ty Simpson. I don't even think they're in the same stratosphere as far as their ability to throw the football. I think that Ty Simpson is a guy who right now, based upon how the season ended, and we've talked about it a lot, and we're going to talk about it a lot more, based upon how the latter half of his season went, which wasn't all on him. The guy was banged up. The offensive line is very inconsistent. The running game is non-existent, and the wide receiver core is up or down from week to week. And then he turns it around in the playoffs against Oklahoma and brings his team back from a 17-point deficit. He's tailor-made for Mike McCarthy's system, and Mike has coached some good quarterbacks. It'll be interesting to see what their evaluation of him is. I don't think he's a reach at 21. And yeah, Mel, I do think he's going to go before that.
On NFL Live, this is interesting from Adam Schefter. With 5-time All-Pro left tackle Trent Williams scheduled to carry a $39 million cap number this season, he and the 49ers currently struggling to find a contractual solution per league sources. If the two sides can't bridge their differences in their standoff, Williams would be expected to join this year's free agent class, making him one of the premier players available in March. Lewis, you think about all the destinations he could go to if he ends up becoming a free agent. What's your reaction?
Yeah, it'd be big time. It'd be big time for him to hit the market. I mean, Trent is without a doubt, he's the heart and soul of this football team. You see when the 49ers come out of the tunnel that this guy is the one who's leading the charge, doing the dancing. I don't think he's the one who carries the boombox, but Trent is a dude now, and he's been a beast for a long time. There's a team right across the bay in the Las Vegas Raiders. They could use a Trent Williams. They need to revamp that offensive line. Clint Kubiak is familiar with him from his time in San Francisco. There's a lot of teams that would be interested in his services, despite the fact that he's going to be pushing 40 years old here in the not too distant future, a couple of years from now. But he's still a guy who is a franchise caliber blindside protector.
I mean, for all the injuries they had, the times when he was out for the 49ers this year, you just saw how significant his contributions are when he's in there.
Yep.
New on NFL Live, Giants head coach John Harbaugh and GM Joe Shane talked about rebuilding this Giants team this afternoon.
It's an exciting time for us and some of the other young core pieces that we have. So you're really going to build it around Jackson, new head coach, and some other changes within the organization. So I'm excited about where we are, and this is the start of that process.
I feel energized, always do. Whenever you come to Indy, you feel energized. I mean, you get a chance to get around, you see the players, you have the interviews, you see the coaches, you see the GMs, you kind of size up your competition. It's a tough league. It's very competitive. It's a really fine line. I mean, the margins are tight, between winning and losing and having a good day and all those kind of things. So what we're trying to do together is, as a group, is just build the best football operation that we possibly can. And out of that, create the best football team that we can, then prepare the team and then go play the games and see how we do.
Helps when you have the number 5 overall pick. Mel, the Giants still looking to build around Jackson Dart. You have them going O-line instead of wide receiver in round 1. I get it. What's your thought there?
Harbaughs are old school. Our bottom line is, back to Jim Harbaugh. Maybe take wide receiver. No, he took Joe Alt, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Think about John Harbaugh. It's all about Jackson Dart, making him keep getting better and better, right? Be one of the best young signal callers in this league, which he's capable of becoming. And you think about a Spencer Fano out of Utah. You think about CC Maui-Noah out of Miami. And then you also think about Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Well, John Harbaugh decided to go not in the trenches, like he's old school, and I think he could, or go Carnell Tate, wide receiver. You got Malik Neighbors coming back from an injury. All this kid does, Carnell Tate, is get open, catch the football. He's NFL ready. He blocks as well. He is an unselfish, great character player. So for me, it's going to be tricky. You talk about offensive tackle, right tackle, free agents is going to impact that. Fano can play guard or tackle. Now we know it can play tackle or guard. Same thing there. You got that dual versatility. So it's going to be interesting. But those 3 players are on the board at that point. To take one of those guys when you'd like to have 2 of them, but you only take one, it's going to be interesting. They go wide receiver or offensive tackle.
Yeah, Mel, I actually like going offensive tackle in round 1 because the receiver depth in round 2 is fantastic. Even in round 3, I think it's the strongest position in this year's draft. I had 18 receivers in my top 100 recently. So going offensive tackle, securing that right side of the offensive line. And with someone like Spencer Fano, he does have experience on the left side if they were to lose Andrew Thomas again for injury. So as much as I love to hop on here and criticize Mel's mock, I'll give him credit on this pick. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, these are plug-and-play guys, both Fano and Maui-Noah, because of their right tackle experience, and you just kind of put them in there, and you're right. Look, John and Jim Harbaugh understand the value of offensive line play, and I think Jackson Dart, whether he understands it yet, he will understand it soon, the value of offensive line play. We know that it's something that the Giants have struggled with organizationally, and they're going to have to address it. There'll be time to get to the wide receiver position, take care of the trenches for sure.